Token budget analysis. Requested 1,400-word story. Requirements: strong emotional intro, no headings, USA English, compelling narrative. Estimated token usage 2,500, 3,000. Tokens, well within 190K budget. Marcus Chen's hands trembled as he gripped the mop handle, watching the puddle of industrial cleaner spread across the marble floor of Morrison Tech's executive wing. It was 11 p.m., and most nights, the silence of this gleaming tower felt like a cathedral, a place where he could work in peace, where nobody saw him, nobody judged him, and nobody asked questions he didn't want to answer. But tonight was different. Tonight, his phone had rung 3 times in the last hour, and each time he'd ignored it, knowing exactly who was calling and what it meant. The 4th ring came just as he rounded the corner toward the CEO's private conference room, and this time he couldn't ignore it anymore. His daughter needed him, and nothing, not this job, not his pride, not even the fear of losing everything, mattered more than that. He answered in Dutch, his native tongue feeling like warm honey after a long day of English phrases, and polite nods. Ja, liefje, papa is hier. Wat is aan de hand? Papa, ik kan niet slapen. The monsters are back! His heart cracked. 7-year-old Emma. Brave little Emma, who'd already lost her mother to cancer 2 years ago, who smiled through every hardship, was crying in the dark while he pushed a mop across floors that cost more per square foot than his monthly rent. Ik kom zo snel mogelijk naar huis, schatje. 10 minuten, oké? Zing het liedje dat mama je leerde. Is everything all right? Marcus spun around, phone still pressed to his ear, and found himself face to face with Victoria Morrison herself. The Victoria Morrison, billionaire tech mogul, founder of Morrison Tech, and according to Forbes, the 8th most powerful woman in America. She stood there in a navy blazer despite the late hour, her silver hair pulled back, eyes sharp but not unkind. He fumbled with the phone, switching back to English. I'm sorry, Ms. Morrison, I didn't know anyone was still here. You speak Dutch. It wasn't a question. Yes, ma'am. I apologize for the disruption. It won't happen again. She took a step closer, studying him with an intensity that made him want to disappear into the floor. He'd just cleaned. Your daughter can't sleep? Marcus blinked. She understood Dutch? Yes, bad dreams. I'm a single parent, and the babysitter, she's good. But Emma sometimes needs you. Victoria's expression softened in a way that made her look suddenly human, suddenly vulnerable. She needs you. Yes, ma'am? Then why are you still standing here? Marcus stared at her, confused. My shift doesn't end until midnight, and I can't afford to. Go home to your daughter, Marcus. She glanced at his name badge. That's an order, not a request. You'll be paid for the full shift. He wanted to move, wanted to run to his car and drive to Emma. But years of struggling, of scraping by, of losing jobs for smaller infractions, had taught him to be cautious. With respect, Ms. Morrison, I need this job. If I leave early, you're not leaving early. You're responding to a family emergency, which is entirely different. She pulled out her phone. What's your employee number? 20 minutes later, Marcus sat on the edge of Emma's bed, stroking her hair as she finally drifted off to sleep. The worn stuffed elephant, the last gift from her mother, clutched tight in her small arms. The apartment was tiny, paint peeling in the corners, but it was clean and filled with Emma's drawings taped to every available surface. Butterflies, mostly. Her mother had loved butterflies. He should have felt relief, but all he felt was dread. In his experience, kindness from powerful people came with strings attached, with expectations he couldn't meet. He'd accepted Victoria Morrison's generosity in the moment because Emma needed him. But now, in the quiet of his daughter's breathing, he wondered what it would cost him. The email came at 7 a.m. Marcus Chen, please report to Executive HR at 9 a.m. today. V. Morrison. His stomach dropped. This was it. He'd be let go, probably with some polite corporate language about restructuring or cultural fit. He'd been through it before. He called his neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, begged her to take Emma to school, and put on his one good shirt, the one he saved for parent-teacher conferences and funerals. The executive HR floor looked nothing like the service areas he knew. Everything gleamed with the kind of wealth that was supposed to inspire innovation, but mostly just reminded him how different His world was from theirs. A young assistant led him to a private office where Victoria Morrison sat across from an empty chair. "Sit down, Marcus." He sat back straight, preparing himself for the inevitable. "I did some research last night," she began, sliding a folder across the desk. "You have a master's degree in electrical engineering from Delft University. You worked for 3 different tech firms in the Netherlands before immigrating here 5 years ago. Excellent recommendations, impressive portfolio of work. So tell me why one of the most talented engineers I've ever seen on paper is mopping my floors at night." Marcus's throat went dry. Nobody had looked at his resume in 3 years. Nobody cared. "My wife got sick. Cancer. We came to America for treatment, spent everything we had and then some. She died anyway. My work visa was tied to my employer. And when I had to take time off for her treatment, for Emma, I lost my position, lost my visa status. By the time I got my green card, I'd been out of the field too long. Nobody wants to hire someone with a gap in their employment, especially not an immigrant with a young child and no family support." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "My mother was a janitor," she finally said. "Single mother, immigrant from Poland." She spoke 5 languages but cleaned toilets for 20 years because nobody would give her a chance. "She died when I was 19, never got to see me build this company. Do you know what her dream was?" Marcus shook his head. "That I would become someone who opened doors instead of cleaning behind them." Victoria leaned forward. "I'm offering you a position in our R&D division. Senior engineer, full benefits, flexible hours, child care assistance, and a signing bonus to get you back on your feet. But I need to know something first. Anything. Why didn't you ask for help sooner? Why didn't you tell someone about your background?" Marcus looked down at his calloused hands, hands that had changed from designing circuit boards to wringing out mops. "Pride is expensive, Ms. Morrison, but so is hope. Every time I've hoped for something better, it's been taken away. The job, my wife, my career. I learned to stop hoping for rescue and just focus on being there for Emma. That's all I have left, that I can control. What if I told you that you don't have to choose between being there for Emma and having a career? What if you could have both?" He looked up and for the first time in years, felt something dangerous stirring in his chest. Hope. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the Morrison Tech cafeteria during the company's family day, watching Emma race around with the other employees' kids, her laughter ringing out like music. His team had just received approval for a project he'd designed, a breakthrough in sustainable energy chips that could change the industry. Victoria appeared beside him, 2 cups of coffee in hand. She offered him one. "She looks happy," Victoria observed. "She is. We both are. I don't know how to thank you." "You already have. That chip design is going to put us years ahead of our competitors." She paused. "But that's not really why I did it." "Then why?" Victoria smiled, and in that smile, Marcus saw the daughter of a Polish janitor who'd made good on her mother's dream. "Because my mother used to answer calls in Polish in grocery store aisles, trying to help me with homework while she was supposed to be working. Because someone needs to break the cycle where talent gets wasted. Because of circumstance. And because that little girl deserves to have her father present. Not just physically, but in every way that matters." Emma ran up, grabbing Marcus's hand. "Papa, they have butterflies." "Real ones, come see," as he let his daughter pull him toward the butterfly exhibit Morrison Tech had brought. In for the day, Marcus looked back at Victoria Morrison, who was already surrounded by other employees but caught his eye and nodded. Some acts of kindness, he realized, weren't about charity. They were about recognizing the humanity in others, about understanding that circumstances don't define worth, and that sometimes the person mopping your floors might be the one who changes your company's future, if only someone bothers to ask their story. In a world that often measured people by their job titles and bank accounts, Victoria Morrison had measured Marcus by something else entirely. His love for his daughter, his resilience, and the potential that had never died, just waited for someone to notice it was there, and that made all the difference.